Do you still think Chicago is called the Windy City because it's a windy city? Aw, that's cute. Well, if you don't want Chicago ruined for you, like I ruined New York, I wouldn't keep watching. Let's first do a quick recap on who the Statue of Liberty actually is and why it's called the Big Apple. You see, a funny thing happens when you wake up to the lies of the world. You start seeing things that are right there in plain sight. Things like this painting of Lucifer that was done in 1797. And how Lucifer is very often referred to as the morning star or the light bearer, and he is also referred to as Satan. And how he was often depicted standing in a very familiar pose. So familiar that it can't just be coincidental. So familiar that you ask yourself, how did I not see this before? And then you take a closer look and you ask yourself, is that really even a woman's face? Because it looks an awful lot like the Lucifer painting's face. And then you realize that Lucifer was Satan in that Garden of Eden and offered Eve that infamous apple. And then that makes you think, New York, what is it often called? It's referred to as the Big Apple. Now, is that just a coincidence that they have a giant statue of Satan who offered Eve the apple, and they call New York the Big Apple? You see, Chicago's no different. They have their own light bearer, and not only does their light bearer bear the light, but he also bears the fruit. And we have our own nickname here in Chicago. And real Chicagoans know it's not called the Windy City because of the bitterly cold wind, but because the politicians here in Chicago were full of hot air. But I'm not a Chicagoan. I'm from the burbs, and I'm a truther. And truthers know that it's not either of those, but rather that Lucifer is not only the light bearer, but he was called the Lord of the Air. So again, you can go on believing what the mainstream narrative says, or you can seek truth, because it's there. You just need to look and want to find it. And yes, this is Chicago before that great Chicago fire. But that narrative, that mainstream narrative, is a story for another day. But here's a teaser. If you believe that this beautiful work of a masterpiece of a city could look like this before a fire, and then like this after a fire, well then, my friends, you just haven't looked into this mainstream narrative enough. Because our entire history is a lie, and the ones who wrote that history want to keep you in your little bubble of knowledge. And of course, all of this was only for entertainment purposes. Nothing was serious, not one word that I said